Everyone is talking about motivation. Everyone is waiting for that magical moment when they feel pumped up, when it all comes together and they suddenly want to go hard, go deep, and stay focused. But listen, I got something real to tell you that nobody will say out loud. Motivation is not reliable. It's not consistent. You can have it on Monday and be gone by Wednesday. You may wake up ready to grind one morning, and the following day, you don't even want to leave the bed. That's reality. And if you construct your life, your work, your vision on motivation alone, you're constructing it on sand. It will fall the moment the storm comes. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. You must force yourself, yes, force yourself to continue even when all of you feels like quitting. You must develop that inner strength, that mental toughness that insists, I don't care how I feel. I committed. That's what consistency is all about. It's not about being in the mood. It's not about waiting for the planets to align. It's about getting it done, no matter whether you like it or not. Consider this: when a professional arrives at work, he does not ask himself, am I motivated today? No, he clocks in. He gets it done. He gets it executed. Why? Because they get the value of consistently showing up. If you're trying to become great at anything, your craft, your business, your body, your character, then you've got to stop waiting to feel right and start training yourself to act right. That's the difference between the average and the elite. The average wait to feel it. The elite show up regardless. Discipline is what separates potential from performance. And I know that's hard to believe because we exist in a day and age where individuals want things quickly. They want it immediately. They want the outcome without the repetition. But repetition is the price of mastery. You don't get consistent by accident. You get disciplined by force, by getting out of bed on a cold morning, by resisting distractions when your friends are staying out late, by putting in that last rep, that last call, that last mile, even when nobody's looking. That's it. And here's the thing. Each time you get there, when you don't want to, you're reprogramming your brain. You're learning for yourself that your word is worth more than your mood. You're demonstrating to yourself that you're in charge, not your feelings, not your surroundings you. That is true confidence. Not from braggadocio, not from inspirational quotes on Twitter, but from the quiet battles you win in secret. When you stand in front of the mirror and I did what I said I'd do, that's strength. So no, it won't always be good. There will be days you will want to give up, days where the gains aren't visible, days where the progress is non-existent. But don't believe that lie. Progress is occurring behind the scenes. Growth is occurring in your character. And the only thing that brings it to the front is showing up repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. You desire to shift your life. Obligate yourself to be consistent. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but daily. Make it unacceptable to budge. Make it a norm. Make it who you are. Because the moment you develop that habitual sense of discipline, that beat of dependability, you become invincible. Not because you're the most gifted, but because you're the most committed to the work. And in the end, you need to set a standard in your life that is not negotiable. I'm referring to a level of execution, a level of follow through that doesn't vary based on how you're feeling or what's going on around you. Too many people use consistency as a convenience, something they do when things are going well. But true consistency only appears once you construct a system out of your goals, not a mood. You require structure, routine, a mindset that says, this is what I do, full stop. No haggling, no second guessing. No, I'll do it tomorrow. If you're committed to success, true, sustained, significant success, then you need to establish standards that are impervious to excuses. The second you allow your commitments to become optional, you've lost. You've given yourself permission to quit, and it gets easier each time. Easier to skip, easier to rationalize, easier to drift. But when you make consistency non-negotiable, it becomes part of who you are. You don't even have to consider if you'll show up. You just do. It's who you are. Just the way you brush your teeth every morning without getting a motivational reminder. Your grind, your process, your growth routine needs to become that autopilot, that locked in. By that, I don't mean perfection. You're human. You're going to have bad days. But even on those days, your standard must still be there. Maybe you don't give 100%, but you give everything you've got. Perhaps you're not giving it your all, but you're still going. And that's what makes the difference. Consistency isn't giving it your all every time. It's giving it your all on a given day. There's strength in that. There's power in not staying down. Consider how a thermostat works. A thermostat doesn't respond to the temperature. It dictates the temperature. You have to be like that in your life. Set the tone. Set the energy. Set the effort. Stop letting outside events control your inside motivation. Because the truth is, life is always going to try to get you out of rhythm. Things will arise. Feelings will hit. People will let you down. But if your standard is not negotiable, you remain grounded. You remain focused. You remain consistent. There's a difference between interest and commitment. Doing what you want to do when it's convenient for you is interest. Commitment means doing it even when it's not convenient. What are you? Interested or committed? Because if you're committed, you have to put in a system that keeps you anchored. Morning routines, weekly planning, accountability partners, physical reminders, whatever it takes to lock in and keep your actions aligned with your goals. You've got to take away as much negotiating space as you can. Why? Because that's where mediocrity finds its way in, through the cracks you leave behind. And don't wait till it's desperate to take this seriously. Don't wait till the repercussions catch up or the opportunities slip you by. Do it now. Establish your rules. Establish your boundaries. Construct your daily system as your lifeline, because that's exactly what it is. Success is not what you do every now, and then success is what you do every day. And every day comes from standards which you do not violate. So if you genuinely desire it, if you're not merely blabbing, not merely fantasizing, but genuinely prepared to emerge, you've got to make a decision today what's non-negotiable in your life. What's sacred, what you'll defend come hell or high water. Because once your standard is established in stone, your direction becomes clear. You cease to be ambivalent. You cease to delay. You arrive. You lock in. And you perform every day, until the outcome is so loud nobody can ignore you. It's the ones who remain steady day after day who succeed. People wish to be consistent, yet many people fall short by aiming too high too soon. They believe they must go huge, make enormous moves each day, and never miss a beat. But the thing is, consistency isn't built on intensity. Consistency is built on simplicity. It's built on tiny steps taken day in and day out. You don't need to be radical. You need to be determined. You need to make a choice that you're going to be available to yourself in tiny ways, day in and day out, and refuse to let up. That's how momentum builds. That's how consistency is created. We've all seen it. Someone hits the gym for a week, goes hard, posts about it, and then disappears a month later. Or someone launches a new project, all energy and excitement, but they're nowhere to be found once the grind sets in. Why? Because they started too heavy and didn't build the muscle of showing up. They were trying to sprint before they learned how to walk. They were after the huge win without value in the process. Consistency, though, resides in the process. It's not about doing all things. It's about doing one thing consistently every time. So if you're having a hard time with consistency, cease attempting to alter everything simultaneously. Choose one thing, one little deliberate step that reflects who you're aiming to become, and then do it every single day. No exceptions. You want to get up earlier? Begin by moving your alarm 15 minutes earlier, not 2 hours. You want to be a reader? Be 1 page a day, not 50. You want to exercise? Do 5 minutes if that's all you can manage. Don't dismiss the effectiveness of small steps. Small does not equal minor. Small equals maintainable. Because this is what it looks like. When you remain consistent with those little steps, your mind begins to change. You start to trust yourself. You start to notice that you can be disciplined, that you can show up. And that trust builds confidence, not pretend confidence, not the kind that's on social media, but real, true, unshakable confidence that comes from being reliable to yourself. That's what is most important. Consistency is not what other people observe. It's what you understand you are. You can't create a strong foundation by placing chaos upon chaos. You construct it brick by brick. And the best foundations are constructed out of tiny, consistent efforts that no one applauds. No attention, just stealthy, disciplined action each day. And eventually those tiny steps become habits. Habits become routines. Habits become lifestyle. That's the domino effect. That's how greatness is constructed, not in breakthrough moments, but in steady effort. Now you've just got to be kind to yourself. You're going to mess up sometimes. You're going to miss a day. Life's going to get ugly. Don't let that completely derail you. The secret isn't never messing up. It's never giving up. You miss a day. Fine, try again tomorrow. Don't make one mistake a permanent thing. Actual consistency is not never falling down. It's never remaining down. You want to level up. You want to become the next version of yourself. Then stop waiting to be ready. Begin small. Remain relentless. Know that it's not the occasional big thing that alters your existence. It's the consistent small things. And when you figure out how to control the small, you'll be tough enough to handle the big. That's how you become dangerous. That's how you become unstoppable. Not overnight, not with hype, but with small steps done daily without excuses. That your feelings are not facts. That's one of the hardest lessons to accept when you're trying to be consistent. Your feelings will attempt to take control. They'll inform you that you're exhausted when you still have energy left. They'll inform you that you can rest when you haven't worked for it. They'll whisper in your ear that it's not worth it, that today is irrelevant. But listen, let me tell you something. Your feelings do not give a hoot about your future. They care about convenience. And if you base your life on emotion, you'll always compromise. You'll always play small. You'll always take the easy over the best. Consistency requires that you rise above your feelings. It requires that you stick to your plan, your framework, your vision, not your disposition. Because your plan was created in light, but your feelings arrive in darkness. And if you let your feelings control the vehicle, you'll crash every single time. But when you create the discipline to follow through no matter what you feel, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when consistency is your superpower. You need to train your mind to hear your aspirations, not your moods. There are going to be days when you wake up and feel invincible. Awesome, make the most of it. There are going to be days when you wake up and feel empty, drained, maybe even invisible. Still show up, still push, still do the work. Because that's what differentiates individuals who dream from individuals who deliver. You don't need to feel it in order to do it. You have to make the decision to do it and then see it through. Period. You don't think the greats ever woke up feeling like doing the work. You don't think Kobe wanted to go hit the gym at 4 a.m. every morning. You don't think Serena ever felt like getting on the court. No, but they did decide to stick to the plan, be faithful to the process, and let the results talk for themselves. They didn't let a bad attitude, a rough night, or a little tiredness rewrite the script. They wrote the script and they lived it. This is about ownership. When you do what you feel like, you're reacting. But when you do what you've planned, you're leading. You're in control. You're saying, this is who I am, and this is what I do, no matter what. And once you develop that kind of mindset, you become dangerous, because now nothing stops you. Not laziness, not distractions, not comfort, not fear. You become immune to the noise, and all that's left is execution. And let's get real. Most times your emotions are fleeting. You ever realize how you didn't want to go to the gym, but then after you worked out, you felt great? That's the game. The feeling always shifts once you move. Action precedes. Emotion follows. You can't wait to feel good to begin. You must begin to feel good. So if you wish to become consistent, you need to make a decision. Are you going to be committed to your emotions or committed to your purpose? You can't serve two masters. One will propel you forward, the other will impede you. And daily, you have a choice on which one prevails. Let your goals guide. Let your plan direct. Lock in. Follow through. Not because you want to, because you promised you would. That's what true consistency looks like. Your routine is your everything. It's not a to-do list you tick through. It's the framework that keeps your future from flying apart. When you get your routine down, you get your life down. It becomes your foundation, your anchor, your compass. Because let's face it, life gets crazy. Distractions are present on every corner. Emotions go up and down. But a good routine, that's what keeps you on track when everything else is trying to distract you. Others believe success is about doing something monumental every now and then. It's not. It's about doing the right things every day, every time. It's the morning you wake up on time when nobody would notice if you hit snooze. It's the extra rep at the gym when you could have stopped. It's the book you read instead of scrolling, the call you make when you'd rather procrastinate, the journal you write in to stay sharp and focused. Those actions might seem small in the moment, but over time they stack, they build, and they separate you from the people who are just winging it. The issue is everybody's in reaction mode. People let life control the way they move. If something arises, their entire day is disrupted. If they don't feel the mood, they don't move. But when you create a routine that's focused on your objectives, you don't move with feeling, you move with purpose. Your day is meaningful. Your time is organized. You don't leave your advancement up to fate. You design it. And yes, your schedule doesn't have to be flawless. You don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. drinking green juice and doing yoga on a mountain, but you do need to be consistent. You need to understand what steps propel you forward and then decide to do them every day. Whether that's training, reading, planning, working, praying, meditating, what drives your growth. It must have a space in your day. Not when you get around to it. Not if you have time, but because it matters. There's a reason the most successful individuals on earth are creatures of habit. They've cut out decision fatigue. They're not burning energy in the morning questioning what to do. They get up and do it. And because of that, they open up space in their head to worry about the large stuff. That is the magic of a routine. It provides stability, and out of that stability comes expansion. But this is the secret. You must guard your routine as your life depends on it, because it does. When you abandon the habits that anchor you, you begin to drift, and drifting leads to delay. Delay leads to regret, and regret. That's what gnaws at people who know they had more in them but didn't put in the effort to unleash it. So if you're committed to being consistent, you must create a routine that is working for your purpose. And once you've created it, stand up for it, show up for it, live by it, even when you don't feel like it, even when life sends distractions your way. Because each time you follow through on your routine, you're showing yourself that your goals are more important than your comfort. And that conviction at the deepest part of your being is what will propel you when motivation fades. You want to transform your life. Don't follow the hype. Don't wait for the right time. Create your routine. Follow it. Make it unwavering, because once your routine is your norm, consistency isn't a challenge. It becomes you. And from that space, there is no you've got to stop quitting on yourself. That cycle, the one that you begin strong and then drop off the moment things become difficult, that's the cycle that's holding you back. And here's the thing. It's not talent. It's not resources. It's not timing. It's your capacity to stay, to grind, to stay committed when all of you just wants to quit. Most people don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they quit. They quit before the miracle. They quit because sticking to it felt awkward, because progress was too slow, because their feelings began speaking over their determination. But here is the reality. If you're constantly seeking a reason to quit, life will always provide one. There will always be a tough day. There will always be a diversion. There will always be something that encourages you to take your foot off the pedal. That's why you must make up your mind once and for all that quitting is not an option anymore, that the cycle breaks with you. Because so long as quitting remains an option, you will always resort to it when you encounter resistance. Consistency is the quiet killer of the committed. It isn't received much acclaim. It isn't exhilarating at the time, but it comes out on top every time. And you don't create that kind of reliability by doing things when it is easiest. You create it by not breaking promises to yourself. You promised that you wanted this. You promised that you were finished playing small. You promised that this time would be different. So prove it, not with words, not with a motivational post, but with action, with follow through, with the kind of relentless energy that says, I'm not going anywhere. You have to discipline your mind to complete what you begin. Quit creating a reputation for yourself as the person who always falters. Begin to be the person who follows through. When you catch that desire to leave, that's the time that is most crucial. That's the time in which change is taking place. That's where character is being developed. And if you flee from that, you pass up the blessing on the other side. Each time you quit, you reboot, you start over. You put your dream off another day. You undermine your momentum. But each time you press on, each time you say, no, I'm not quitting here, you build strength. You create identity. You begin to become a person who doesn't need motivation to press on because you've made the choice that you are not made to quit. And hear me, it's not about being perfect. It's not about never struggling. It's about never giving up. There's a difference. There's struggle in the process, but there's a choice to give up. And you don't have to make that choice anymore. You don't have to live your life as a person who almost succeeded, who almost became consistent, who almost broke through. No, you can choose today that you're going to see things through. That this time you won't back down. You won't make excuses. You won't run away when it gets difficult. Because if you want to become someone you've never been, you have to do what you've never done. And that begins with showing up every day, every season, every time it gets difficult. Stop quitting, start enduring. Let the hurt forge you. Let the journey form you. And when it's all over, you'll look back and you'll know that all of the things you were looking for were on the other side of not giving up. Limit to what you can do's like. That's how consistency isn't meant to be easy. That's the one nobody wants to mention. Everyone desires the outcome, the change, the epiphany, but they don't want the discomfort that arises from repeating something over and over again, even when it's not exciting. They desire progress without pressure, discipline without hardship, but actual growth resides in the discomfort. And if you continue to shy away from that, if you continue to opt for ease rather than effort, you'll never develop the consistency it takes to get to your next level. You've got to become okay with being uncomfortable. That's getting up earlier than you need to. That's saying no when your body is screaming at you to just relax. That's grinding through the reps when your muscles ache, learning when your brain is exhausted, working when your feelings are off. It's selecting what's right rather than what's easy, time and time and time again. And no, it won't always be pleasant, but that's the idea. Because when it is always easy, you're not growing. When it is always comfortable, you're not changing. When it never hurts a little bit, you're in your comfort zone. You cannot have both. You cannot opt for comfort and anticipate greatness. Comfort guards what you already possess. Discomfort is what you pay to become more. And when you accept that finally, when you resist the hard no more and accept it, your entire life will change. You'll cease seeking shortcuts. You'll cease waiting for the best moment. You'll cease making excuses. Because now you'll realize that pain is part of the procedure. Frustration is part of the equation. Resistance is not a justification to give up. It's an indication that you're in the right position. They'll watch diligent, disciplined people and wonder what secret they possess. But it's not a secret. It's a mindset. It's being willing to be uncomfortable on purpose, to take the hard road even when nobody is looking, to appear without applause, to perform without feeling. They don't wake up with any less pain. They simply stopped allowing pain to dictate their choices. They stopped negotiating with comfort. And the more you subject yourself to discomfort, the stronger you become. The first early morning may be hell. The first cold shower may be punitive. That first exercise session may exhaust you. But if you continue to venture into the fire, you'll begin to adapt. The agony does not cease, but you learn to overcome it. You build mental calluses. You toughen up. Your threshold increases. And suddenly what used to break you becomes your baseline. So don't flee from discomfort. Don't avoid the process. Lean in, embrace it. When you sense resistance, smile, because you're stretching. When you sense doubt, keep going. That's evidence you're closer. Each time you opt for the uncomfortable action, you're creating something within that can't be replicated: grit, discipline, strength. And that strength, that's what lifts you when motivation is absent. That's how consistency is created. Not on the good days, not on the highlight moments, but on the quiet, uncomfortable, inconvenient days when no one else would have faulted you for backing down, but you remain. That's the difference. That's what builds champions. Not talent, not luck, but the choice to take on discomfort as a necessary step in the climb. So if it feels hard, good. And if it feels like a fight, exactly. That means you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Keep pushing. Keep walking through the flames. Because consistency is not about being comfortable. It's about being brave enough to overcome the uncomfortable. Day by day, brick by brick, until greatness is no longer a fantasy. It's your life. Every decision you make today is building the you that arrives tomorrow. You don't get consistent by happenstance. You get consistent through everyday decisions that serve your future, not your emotions. Most individuals don't understand how much power their minor decisions have They believe missing one workout does not count. They believe watching for an extra hour rather than reading that book doesn't hurt. They believe putting off their objectives until next week or next month isn't a concern. But the reality is your life is being constructed right now, whether you notice it or not. You need to begin living with a sense of urgency, not panic, not fear, urgency. A gritty realization that your time is short, your window is shutting, and the person you want to become isn't going to wait for you to be prepared. Your future self, the one with the discipline, the results, the freedom, the impact, is being defined by how you're moving now. Not by some tremendous opportunity in the future, not by a magical flash of inspiration, but by the habits that you practice when no one is looking. That's where consistency is created. It's easy to dream. It is simple to discuss what you're going to do someday. But someday is a falsehood people say to themselves so they don't have to do anything about it in the present. You don't require more time. You require more purpose. Every single day is an opportunity to improve or remain the same. And if you're not actively making choices that move you toward your objectives, then by default, you're moving away from them. There is no middle ground. There is no pause button. Time continues to march along, and so should you. And here's the thing most people get wrong. Consistency isn't about huge strides. It's about daily alignment. It's about waking up and making the hard choice because it drives your vision. Making the workout instead of comfort. Making the focus instead of the distraction. Making the commitment instead of convenience. The space between where you are and where you want to be is filled with daily decisions just like that. Small, usually invisible, but strong enough to transform your whole life. And let's be honest, most times it won't feel rewarding in the moment. Some days it feels like absolutely nothing is happening. Like your hard work isn't making a difference. But consistency is like planting a seed. You don't see the harvest immediately. You water, you nurture, you show up day after day. And if you remain faithful, eventually the results start to manifest. But if you keep digging up the seed every time you have doubts, you'll never get to see the fruit. So ask yourself today, what are you choosing today that your future self will be thanking you for or regretting? Are you working from a place of discipline or a place of postponement? Are you creating the habits that support your aspirations? Or are you just hoping something changes without you doing anything differently? This is your life. This is your choice. Nobody's coming to force you to stay consistent. You have to be you. You have to be the person who wakes up and says, today I opt for progress. Today I opt for growth. Today I opt for the habits that define my destiny. Because ultimately, your outcomes will never be more than your consistency. And your consistency will never be more than the quality of your day-to-day decisions. Make today matter. Make every day matter. Because your own accountability will transform your life. It's easy to be consistent when you're accountable to others because then you really have no choice. But when you're accountable only to yourself, then it becomes oh so easy to slack off. You say, I'll do it later, and no one calls you on it. No one reminds you what you promised yourself. No one holds you to your own level. And without accountability, even the best of intentions can turn into excuses. But when you introduce accountability into your life, when you establish a framework in which someone or something is observing, monitoring, keeping score, you elevate your level. You elevate your effort. You elevate your attention. Because now it's no longer a wish in your mind. It's a commitment you've spoken. And that change makes all the difference. You begin to show up differently. You no longer play small. You no longer hide. Because you know someone is holding you to your best, even when you don't feel like being your best. Accountability is a superpower, not a weakness. It's not that you can't be disciplined. It's that you're smart enough to set up an environment that makes you level up. That might be a mentor, a coach, a training partner, a team, or even a journal you check off each day. It's not perfection, it's honesty. Because when you're only in charge of yourself, you can deceive yourself. But when you're in charge of someone else, the truth reveals itself. And that truth, that genuine examination, that's what cuts you sharp. And listen, the idea isn't to rely on others in perpetuity. The idea is to create the kind of character that doesn't require outside pressure to remain committed. But accountability accelerates you to that place. It brings about consistency when your own discipline is still in progress. It catches you when your motivation falters. It keeps the mission in front of your nose when the distractions begin to accumulate. And if you are committed to your growth, you won't shy away from it. You'll pursue it. You'll open your process up to people. You'll say, check in on me, challenge me. Don't let me play small, because when there's more at stake, you change. When there's an audience, you push harder. When there's someone who's going to hold you accountable, you rise. It's human nature. And if you can apply that to your own benefit, why wouldn't you? Why continue trying to do everything yourself when you don't have to? Greatness isn't achieved alone. Growth comes through friction. And friction is made up of feedback, challenge, and accountability. And don't get it twisted. Your best accountability will always be inside. The objective is to become a person that does what they say they're going to do, even when nobody's looking. But until you've strengthened that muscle, rely on the systems, rely on the support. There is no shame in using accountability to get on track. The shame is in allowing your potential to go to waste because pride made you shut up. So build your team, find your people, or create systems that make your word visible and trackable. Share your progress, document it, create deadlines, solicit feedback, make it tangible. Because once you make it tangible, you make it impossible to ignore. And when it becomes impossible to ignore, it becomes impossible to quit. You don't require more inspiration. You require more follow through. And follow through becomes second nature when you cease to attack it by yourself. Accountability is the bridge between intention and action. And if you really want to coil yourself into consistency, stop avoiding that bridge and begin crossing over it every day. Sure, hinges on it are constructed. It's the actual formula. Consistency means you arrive no matter what. Not merely when it's easy. Not merely when you're in the mood. Not just when the sun is shining and everything's flowing. No, especially when it's hard. Especially when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when nobody's clapping, when the progress feels invisible. That's when it counts the most, because anybody can grind when it's convenient. But the ones who separate themselves, they're the ones who show up regardless. They don't negotiate with the day. They don't ask for permission. They just go. That's the level you need to get to if you are ever going to do something worthwhile. You need to eliminate the option of quitting. Eliminate the option of skipping. Eliminate the option of waiting until you feel better. That way of thinking will steal from you everything that you're capable of. Consistency requires that you become the type of person who does it anyway. You're sore, do it anyway. You're busy, do it anyway. You're not feeling it, still do it anyway. That's the attitude of a finisher. That's the attitude of a leader. It ain't glamorous, but it's real. It ain't loud, but it's deadly. Everyone's always asking, how do I stay motivated? A wrong question. The right question is, what do I do when I'm not motivated? And the answer is easy. You do the work anyway. That's the toll. That's what makes the dreamers and the doers different. When you persist in showing up, something changes. You drop the dependence on hype and you begin depending on habit. And once you have habits that are solid enough, they take you through the dark times, through the failures, through the chaos. And don't wait for someone to clap you on the back. Most of what it takes to become great is done in secret. No one sees the early mornings. No one sees the late nights. No one's there when you're dragging yourself through the process. But that's what builds power. That's what builds grit. The commitment to keep showing up when it's not sexy, when it's not fun, when it's just plain hard. Those are the reps that count. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. You're going to have rough days. You're going to mess up. That's life. But if you commit to keep going no matter what, then nothing can deter you. You'll have bad days, yes, but you won't have bad decades because that consistency snowballs. Every day that you get up and show up, you're building something. You might not see it at first, but believe me, it's working. You're laying bricks. You're building space. You're laying a foundation pressure can't destroy. And one day people will wonder how you did it, how you remain so dedicated, how you managed to make it happen. And your response will be brief. I just didn't stop. That's it. Not talent, not luck. Just a stubborn determination to keep moving forward day after day when everyone else would have quit. That's how legacies are created. That's how goals are achieved. Not in one big moment, but in the repeated decision to show up no matter what. Undefine ASO from this day forward. Make that your identity. Make it your standard. When it's hard, show up. When you're tired, show up. When it feels pointless, show up. Because the ones who keep showing up, those are the ones who win every time.